So hi doctor, my name is Pang Jun, interest number 297735. So I'm going to presenting the quiz 3. Alright. So for question 1, is asked to explain the meaning of currency strengthening and also currency weakening. So for the currency strengthening, it goes to when the value of the currency will increase, so that the currency exchange for more of the other's currency. So we can use lesser money to change for another currency. So its contract, okay, with the currency weakening, all right? So when the value of the currency falls, okay, so that the currency trades for less of others' currency. So we have to use more money to change a currency. So we use scenario, okay, RM and also Australian dollar. So when one Australian dollar equals to 3 ringgit, and then it suddenly appreciate, become 1 ringgit, one Australian dollar equals to 2.8 ringgit. Okay, so the Malaysian ringgit, okay, has appreciated, okay, or strengthening against the Australian dollar. Okay, so it takes fewer ringgit, okay, to buy one Australian dollar. So Malaysian can import, okay, can buy all the goods and services from Australia more cheaper, okay, and then our goods, okay, Malaysian goods become more expensive for the Australian. So we go to the scenario 2, okay, which is the weakening. So when one Australian dollar, 3 ringgit, okay, one Australian dollar equals to 3 ringgit, and then it suddenly depreciated or weakening, become one Australian dollar equals to 3.20 ringgit, okay. So it depreciate 0.2, right? So become it take more ringgit Malaysia to buy a $1 or one Australian dollar. Okay, so the imports from Australia become expensive for us. Okay, but our export, which is our Malaysia goods, become cheaper for the Australian. Right. So for question 2, it's going to see, okay, the fundamental distinction for nominal and also the real exchange rate. And I give an example. Right. So as we know, the nominal exchange rate, okay, is a price, okay, of one currency in terms of the another currency, and then it's without adjusting the inflation. Okay, but the real exchange rate is uh, already adjusted, okay, for the inflation rate, okay, difference between two countries. Okay, so the nominal exchange rate is to show the currency face value, okay, because it's not calculating the inflation. Okay, but then another, which is the real exchange rate, is to show how competitive, okay, a country goods are in the global market. So we use a example, which is the RM and also USD, right? So if we assume, okay, the nominal exchange rate, right, is equal to one US dollar equals to 4.5 Malaysian ringgit, okay, and then the Malaysia inflation rate is 2%, okay, and then US inflation rate is 4%, okay, which is Malaysia inflation rate are lower than the US, okay. So we will calculate the real exchange rate, which is we using the nominal exchange rate, times with the foreign inflation rate, which is the US, and then divide by the Malaysia inflation rate, which is the domestic inflation rate. So we calculate it, we get 4.59. Okay. So the question asks if the nominal exchange rate against the US dollar remains stable or slightly appreciation. Okay, so what will happen? It will happen when the nominal rate, okay, nominal exchange rate unchanged or stable at 4.5. If you cause the real depreciation, okay, real depreciation to make the Malaysian goods, okay, relative cheaper, even the inflation rate in Malaysia is lower than the foreign inflation rate. Okay, so because of the RER, which is the real exchange rate, are bigger than the nominal exchange rate. So it will cause real depreciation. Okay, the depreciation in the real term. Okay, 4.59 is bigger than 4.5. So even though the nominal exchange rate is unstable, is stable or is slightly appreciation at 4.5. So in question 3, we are talking about the differences, okay, between spot and also forward market, and then we explain the example, okay, by the question. So the spot market is where the currency, okay, are traded for the immediate delivery, okay. But for the forward market is we lock the exchange rate, right, for future transaction. So in terms of the transaction timing, the spot market is more to immediately, immediate delivery, but the forward market is more to future transaction, right? So the exchange rate they use for spot market, they will use current market rate, but for the forward market, they will lock in any of exchange rate, okay, and then for the future spot fluctuation, okay. So the typical case uses for the spot market is more to urgent payments or the small trade, but for the forward market is more to the long-term international trade. So if talk about an example, which is a Malaysian manufacturing company, is planned to import the machinery from US. Okay, so we assume the total cost is $1 million. Okay, in 3 months. So we also assume the current spot rate is $1 equals to 4 ringgit Malaysia, and also the 3 months forward rate is $1 equals to 4.25 ringgit Malaysia. Right. So if the company choose to wait for the spot market, so if the ringgit Malaysia depreciation in 3 months, like from depreciation from 4.25 to 4.30, so the total cost will be $1 million times with ringgit Malaysia 4.30. They will get 4,300,000. Okay, if the ringgit Malaysia appreciate in 3 months, okay, from 4.25 to 3.90. Okay, $1 equals to 3.90. The total cost will be $1 million times with ringgit Malaysia 3.90, which equals to 3,900,000. Okay, so this is if the company wait for the spot rate. If the spot rate increase, depreciation and appreciation, it will get different total cost. So we assume another situation as well, which is the company choose to use forward market. So the guarantee cost, because forward market, it won't change the exchange rate because we already locked in. All right, so the guarantee cost, it will be $1 million times with 4.25. Just now we say the 3 months forward rate is $1 equals to 4.25. So you will get a guarantee cost if the company choose to use forward market, it equals to total cost 4,250,000. So if you compare the company choose to use spot market or the forward market, the best suggestion to the company will be using the forward market, right? Because uh, the forward market is equals to 4,250,000, and if we use the spot market, we have to take in the risk. The risk which is if the RM will depreciate in 3 months, the company will get loss. Compared to if the spot rate in terms of ringgit Malaysia appreciate in 3 months. Okay, so the company has to be make sure the ringgit Malaysia is going to be appreciate. If they predict the ringgit Malaysia to appreciate, the company will earn some profit from the differences. If the company wrongly to prediction, if the ringgit Malaysia depreciate, the company have to take the risk and also have to pay more cost. So in this situation, the company is suggested to pick the forward market instead of to choose the spot market. So in question 4, okay, we determine the real exchange rate and also discuss about the result. Okay, reflects Malaysia trade competitiveness with Japan. So we use the formula, the real exchange rate with the CPI, which is the nominal exchange rate, times with the foreign CPI, divided by the domestic CPI. So in the initial period, we use 3.80 times with 100, divided by 105, you will get 3.62. And then in the final period, if we use 3.60, okay, times with 102, divided by 110, then we will get 3.34. So if you compare in the initial period, the real exchange rate is less than the nominal exchange rate. So which is the the ringgit Malaysia is more stronger in the real term, okay, than the nominal term. Or we say the real appreciation. Okay, so the Malaysian goods become more expensive for the Japanese, and then it will cause the export decline. In the same time, the Japanese goods it become more cheaper for the Malaysian, so the Malaysian import will increase. So the competitiveness compared to the Japan, it will be more lower because our goods it become more expensive. So it goes same to the final period. Okay, the real exchange rate is lower than the nominal exchange rate in the final period. So all the consequences is the same. Okay, the become the real appreciation in the real term. So Malaysian goods become expensive, and then the goods from the Japanese will become more cheaper. If we look about the overall real exchange rate, at first it dropped by 3.62 to 3.34. Okay, just now we calculate the initial to final, it will show us the result is decrease for the real exchange rate. It means that it happens for the real depreciation of the ringgit. Okay, so if you become the Malaysian goods become more cheaper compared to the Japanese goods, and then it will increase the Malaysia trade competitiveness with the Japan because the Malaysian goods become more cheaper for the others. So in question six, the question asks us to calculate the final ringgit Malaysia return in both cases and then suggest better option. So if we invest in the UK, so we have to convert the RM become pounds. So 150,000 divided by 5.5. So we get 27272.73 in pound sterling. So we multiply by the interest rate, which is the 3.2 in UK. So we get pounds 872.73 pounds. Okay. And then we plus together with the just now we convert. So and then times with the exchange rate, which is 5.30. And then we will get in RM ringgit 149,170.0.94. And then we minus with uh, the amount of that we investing in UK, which is 150,000, we will get loss 829.06 ringgit Malaysia. So if the investor consider to invest in Malaysia, so we multiply by the 2%, the interest rate, with the cost, the investing cost, 150, so we will get 3,000. So the suggestion that make for the Malaysian investor have to be consider invest in Malaysia because if we invest in UK, we will get losses. Okay, just now we calculate 829.06. And then compare with if we uh, invest in Malaysia, we will get 3,000 profit. So to be earn profit, we have to choose invest in Malaysia. So for question seven, we'll talk about the long and short forward position in the foreign exchange contract. So for the short position forward contract, is an obligation that to sell the currency in the future. Okay, sell the currency in the future. So for example, we assume the Malaysian investor or Malaysian importer, okay, agree to pay 200,000, okay, for the UK machinery in 3 months. So if the exchange rate falls from 580 to 585, okay, which is the ringgit Malaysia depreciation, so they have to pay extra 10,000 because we need more money to transfer or to buy one pound sterling. So if ringgit Malaysia depreciation, we have to pay extra. So if the domestic currency depreciate, so the cost of buying foreign currency or foreign products will increase. Okay, this is the example for the short position forward contract. So the long position forward contract is a right, okay, to buy or receive a currency in the future. Okay, to buy or receive. So the example is a Malaysian exporter, okay, to sell palm oil to British, and then they will receive 10,000 pounds in 3 months. So if we assume the exchange rate RM per pound will increase, okay, from 6 ringgit to 580, okay, which is the ringgit Malaysia appreciation, okay. So they will earn less 200,000, 200,000, 20,000. So because when the ringgit Malaysia appreciation, we will use lesser RM to buy or to trade for 1 pound sterling. So if the domestic currency appreciate, so the value of foreign receiver will be decreased. So for question A, we have to calculate the annualizer forward premium or discount. Okay. So we will using the formula which is Fn. Fn is forward rate minus spot rate divided by spot rate times with 12 month divided by n. N is the period and then multiply by 100%. So we're using 3.05, which is a 9 months forward rate, minus 3.0, minus 5, divided by 3.0, multiply 12, divided by 9, because our period is 9 months. So 12 divided by 9, and then multiply by 100%, we will get 2.22%. So 2.22 is considered as the RM trading at a premium level. This is because the forward rate is more than the spot rate. So 3.05 is bigger than 3. So it will consider as a premium. So in question 11, we have to calculate and also compare okay, the RM under both different scenarios and also determine is it a beneficial for locking in the forward contract. So we calculate first one, if we're using the forward market or forward rate, 100,000 we times with 5.08, and then we will get 508,000 in RM. Okay, so if we using the spot rate or spot market, so we use the euro, get 100,000 times with 5.20, okay, and we will get 5,200,000. Okay, so if we lock in the forward rate or forward contract, the exporter will receive less 12,000. Okay, compare with they're using the spot rate, okay, because of the euro strengthened more than they expected. So if we locking in the forward contract, it will not really beneficial. So in question 13, okay, we define what is APPP and also RPPP, and then we highlight the main differences between two. So APPP, which is the absolute purchasing power parity, okay, is a theory that suggests the exchange rate between the two countries should be the same of the ratio of their price level. Okay, but the relative purchasing power parity (RPPP) is a theory that suggests the relationship between a country of inflation rate and the movement, which is the change of the price level and also change in the exchange rate in against another country currency. So the main differences between these two terms, the focuses for APPP is more on the overall price level relationship, okay. But for the RPPP, it's more to the relative change in the price level and also the impact to the exchange rate itself. For the time frames, for APPP, it's more on prediction, long-term equilibrium exchange rate, okay, based on the price level. And then RPPP is more to the exchange rate movement due to the different inflation differences or the change in the price level. So in question 16, they ask us to test is it APPP is valid on this data. So we have to calculate the APPP by using PD divided by PF, which is the price for the domestic divided by the price for the foreign. So we use 4,500 divided by 1,000 US dollar, and then we will get 4.50 per USD. Okay, so it's lower than the market exchange rate. So the APPP does not hold, okay, which is in this situation APP is not valid because of the price of the laptop in Malaysia is less than the equivalent price in the US, which is the ringgit Malaysia is undervalued. So in question 17, we have to determine whether the arbitrage opportunities exist or not based on APP, and then we calculate the non-arbitrage exchange rate. So we have to convert the 40 pounds into the US price first. So the 40 we times with 1.4 the exchange rate, and then we will get $56. So we compare 56 and also 60. 56 is the converted price in UK, okay, the converted UK price, and then the 60 is the price in the US. So we compare, we can conclude the book actually is cheaper in the UK, which is $56 compared to in US, $60 they sell. So there is a arbitrage opportunities assets where the buyer buy the books from the UK, which is $56, and then they resell it in US with $60. So the buyer can get the earn some profit between it. So total is $4. And then we calculate the non-arbitrage exchange rate, which is the APP. We use 60 and divide by 40 pounds. We will get 1.50 per pound. So for question 20, we have to calculate, okay, we have to convert the price to into the US dollar first. So we use 100, okay, CHF 100 times with 0.85, then we will get $85. Okay, so $85 is the converted price, and then the $90 is the price in the US. And then we compare, and then we get the conclusion by the jacket is cheaper in Switzerland, okay, which is $85, and then in the US is sell at $90, which is cheaper than the US. And then the arbitrage opportunities exist when the buyer, okay, buy the jacket from Switzerland and then they resell it in the US. So how to eliminate the opportunities? So we have to calculate the APPP rate, which is the APPP exchange rate. So we're using the $90 divided by the 100. So we will get one CHF equals to $0.9. So if we're using the new, if we're using the APPP exchange rate, it will become more expensive than in the US. And then the aperture opportunities will eliminate. So for question 22 is talking about the concept for the demand supply exchange rate market. Okay, so the RM over JPY exchange rate is determined by the interaction, okay, the interaction of the demand for and also the supply of JPY in the foreign exchange market. So there is many of determination of factors that can affect demand and also the supply for the foreign exchange market. So the determining for the demand is the Malaysian case needed the Japanese yen to import Japanese goods or services, or they travel to the Japan. Okay, this is for the demand. And then for the supply side, okay, uh, the Japanese have to selling their Japanese yen to obtain or to get the RM, okay, in order to export the Malaysian products or to travel to Malaysian. Okay, so we using the equilibrium graph, okay, to support the statement. So if more Malaysian, okay, import the goods from Japan, okay, the demand for the Japanese yen will increase because they need more Japanese yen to pay the cost. So the demand for the Japanese yen will increase and then will affect the demand curve shift to the right. Okay, when the demand curve shift to the right, the exchange rate it will goes up. Okay, it goes up, which is the Japanese yen will appreciate, but the ringgit Malaysia will depreciate. Okay, so if more Japanese, okay, travel to Malaysia, so they need more RM. Okay, so they will selling their Japanese yen or supply their Japanese yen. Okay, in order to change into RM, so the supply of Japanese yen will increase. So it will make the supply curve shift to the right. Okay, when supply curve shift to the right, it will affect the exchange rate goes down. Okay, when exchange rate goes down means the Japanese yen will depreciate. Okay, then ringgit Malaysia will appreciate. So in question 24, we have to calculate the expected future spot exchange rate after 1 year. So we will using the formula, uh, use the current spot exchange rate, okay, multiply by the 1 plus domestic interest rate, foreign interest rate, okay, divide by 1 plus domestic interest rate. Okay, so 5.30, okay, multiply by 1 plus 0.045, okay, which is the foreign interest rate, and then divide by the domestic interest rate, 1 plus 0.025, and then we will get 5.40 per pound. So we can conclude that the ringgit is expected to depreciate, okay, slightly relative to the pounds because of the interest rate. Because the interest rate is higher in the UK, which is we compare with the interest rate in the Malaysia and also UK. 4.5 is bigger than 2.5, so it shows the ringgit Malaysia are slightly to depreciate. So in question 27, we have to derive the condition for the RIP, integrating for the Fisher equation, the RPPP, and also the UIP. So at first, we have to know what is the Fisher equation first. So the Fisher equation is linked to the nominal interest rate, the real interest rate, and also the expected inflation. So the formula will be I equals to IR. IR is the real interest rate plus the pi E. Pi E is the expected inflation. And then we apply it into both different countries, which is home and also foreign. So we have IH equals to IRH. IRH is the home real interest rate, and then plus with the expected inflation for the home country, pi EH. And then same thing for the foreign country, which is IF equals to IRF plus pi EF. H stand for home, F stand for foreign. And then we also learn for the RPPP, the relative purchasing power parity, state that the expected rate for depreciation of the home currency will equal to the inflation depreciation. So we know that the RPP formula E bracket st plus 1 minus st divided by st, will equal to the inflation depreciation. Just now we have right in the we have combined in the home and also foreign country. So the RPP will equals to pi EH and then minus by the pi EF, because this pi is the inflation, the expected inflation. If we differentiation means we minus them. So same thing goes to the UIP. So the uncovered interest parity is to see the expected depreciation of the home currency equal to the interest rate differentiation. So just now we equals to the expected inflation differentiation. So now we just change it to become the interest rate. So E bracket st plus 1 bracket minus st divided by st. This is the formula for UIP. And then we equal to the interest rate differentiation. If differentiation means we minus. So IH, interest rate for home country minus interest rate for foreign country. And then we combine them because since the left hand side is the same formula, we can combine them. We will get IH minus IF equals to pi EH minus pi EF. The left hand side is the interest rate differentiation, and then the right hand side will be the expected inflation differentiation. So we have the both things equal, and then we can substitute in the Fisher equation. So just now we have the two Fisher equation. One is for home, one is for foreign, and then we just substitute in IH minus IF will equals to IRH. We just rearrange home components and also the foreign components. So IRH plus pi EH and then minus IRF plus pi EF, which is the home and also the foreign country. And then we uh, rearrange back based on the interest rate and also based on the expected inflation. So we will get pi h minus IH minus IF equals to IRH minus IRF. This is the uh, interest rate for home minus foreign, and then plus with the pi EF, pi EH minus pi EF, which is the expected inflation for home minus expected inflation for foreign. And then just now, IH minus IF is equals to the pi EH minus pi EF. Like just now, we combine the RPPP and also the UIP, and then we can eliminate them. So now we have IRH minus IRF plus pi EH minus pi EF equals to pi EH minus pi EF. And then we have to eliminate the expected inflation. Because we assume the expected inflation is equals to 0. So we minus the pi, and then we will get IRH equals to the IRF. So the real interest parity, the RIP, must be equal across the country, when the Fisher equation, RPPP, and also the UIP is whole.